Welcome back, and thank you for joining us. As you can see by the suddenly dark room, we have reached episode 22 of our 24-hour Refinitiv Perspectives live event. And today we have joining us Bill Schmarzo, who will be talking with us about digitization and optimization, which is a bit of a mouthful. But Bill, thanks so much for joining us.
Caroline, thanks for having me. That's episode 22. I'm lucky I'm still awake.
I know, me too. So we're going to jump right into questions since we're a little low on time. But why is the phrase "data is the new oil" so powerful?
So the reason why I think it is so powerful is because for the first time, when that phrase came out, there was a realization that data has economic value. And in the same way that oil drove or fueled the economic growth of the 20th century, the data would be the catalyst that drives the economic growth in the 21st century. So what it did is it was a mind shift. We started to change the frame of thinking about data, not as a cost to be minimized, but as an asset to be exploited.
And what is it about data that makes it a unique economic asset?
So imagine you had a barrel of oil that never wore out, never depleted, and use that same barrel of oil across an unlimited number of cars to fuel them. How much would that barrel of oil be worth? Well, that's exactly what data is. Think about data. Data never wears out, it never depletes. And if curated correctly, the same data set can be used across an infinite number of use cases at a marginal cost equal to zero. It is a very unique economic asset. It's an asset that organizations are having a hard time even getting their heads around. And part of that, Caroline, is because they tend to think about assets from an accounting mindset. In an accounting mindset, organizations determine value based on what that asset could be, valuation in exchange, what you would pay for that. So a car, if you buy a car, it costs you $30,000. That's the worth of that asset, and that's how it appears on your balance sheet. And so everybody had this frame of thinking about data as, how do I get it on my balance sheet? We had this accounting frame, a valuation and exchange concept. So people were trying to monetize their data by selling it. But no, it's an economics conversation. It's a value and use conversation. Why is the car the Uber driver buys more valuable to them than the car that I drive? Well, because the Uber driver is going to use that car to make and create value. So there's been a big mind shift there, and that's why I think we're seeing this realization of this unique economic asset that data is.
That's so interesting. And speaking about cars, obviously Tesla comes up in conversation a lot. And Elon Musk said once that if you buy a Tesla, you are buying an asset that appreciates, not depreciates in value. What are the ramifications of this perspective?
So I think this is one of the most provocative statements I've heard in the last maybe decade, maybe longer. And here's the reason why this is provocative. When Elon Musk first made that comment, everybody immediately took the traditional frame and says, oh, so a car appreciates in value because you're not going to use it. You're going to store it in your garage, and it's a rare car. It's like a 1964 and a half Ford Mustang, right? It's going to get more valuable. But no, there's like a million of these things roaming around the streets. It isn't scarcity that makes a car valuable. What Elon Musk was saying was that because of how he's integrated artificial intelligence, AI, and machine learning into the car, that car is continuously learning and adapting. Every time it drives down the street or turns a corner or past another car or passes a pedestrian, every situation it is exposed to, it learns from. But better yet, at the end of the day, each of these 1 million Teslas roaming the streets, they send all their learnings up to the Tesla cloud. And the cloud then figures out, what are the patterns here that we can use, and then it back propagates all these learnings back to these cars. So any one lesson that one car learns, every other of those million cars also learn. It's a game-changing aspect for people who think about assets that don't appreciate, but assets through AI and machine learning get smarter. They get more predictable, more reliable, more safe, right? It becomes a more valuable asset. I just think that's an amazing statement And it opens up all kinds of avenues for organizations who are really serious about digital transformation from a business model perspective.
And another question for you. So why in knowledge-based industries are economies of learning more powerful than economies of scale?
This is one of my favorite phrases. And what it means is that the way that companies used to run 20, 30 years ago, maybe 10 years ago in some cases, is you built up massive scale, big giant factories, mass distribution, mass manufacturing, mass marketing, right? Your procurement, everything was based on buying in size and volume. But to do that, you had to have a standardized product. We're going to build this product. We're going to build, 100 million of these products. And so we can do that. What happens is as the world changes, the viability and usefulness of that product can decline, right? It decline in time. And so what happens is you want to build capabilities, products, and services that are continuously learning from every customer engagement. It's kind of like Elon Musk's comment, right? That he's built this car that's continuously learning, right? He didn't build a car that was fixed in stone. Because he's integrated AI and machine learning into it, he's created this continuously learning and adapting environment. He's using these economies of learning to make his products more powerful. But wait, there's another key aspect here. So while we do that, and we can do that using AI and ML with our products, we also need to think about how do we unleash the creativity and the economies of learning with our frontline employees. So we really have missed a lot of conversation about the technology, all the AI and ML, which is good. It's all powerful. It's all great stuff. There's challenges there, but it's great stuff. But hey, you've missed maybe the most important asset in your organization, your people. What are you doing to unleash their creativity? What are you doing to capitalize on their economies of learning? Every time one of your frontline employees engages with a customer or is working with the operations of the factory or something, they're learning things. What are you doing to assimilate that? How are you sending that back up to your cloud so you can simulate, and so that whatever one person on the front line learns, everybody learns? And soon what happens if you can take that on, this continuous learning and adapting at the human side, this economies of learning, you're going to find out that all of a sudden, all of your nurses become your best nurses. All your baristas become your best barista. All your technicians become your best technicians, because you're taking the learnings from all of them, you're synergizing them, and you're teaching them this continuous learning. And it focuses on, most importantly, empowering people at the front line.
And that's so interesting, because obviously today we've talked a lot about the events of 2020 and how, things like the pandemic and different movements have taught us that we have to learn how to adapt. And, we never know what's going to happen in the world. And so I think it's really interesting that you talk about how we need to constantly be learning and adapting, not just in the AI and digital world, but also with our workers, who are, as you said, the most important.
Well, what's interesting here is what you really want to do for an organization. We talk about digital transformation, and who knows what'll be next. It'll be cyber transformation, and then something else. We're in a world of constant transformation. To think this is a one-time thing is ludicrous. So in a world that's continuously going through transformation, the only way that organizations are going to survive is if they can embrace what I call organizational improvisation. Think organizational improv, right? The ability for teams to quickly form and dissipate based on the problem they have, be able to move people in and out of teams, leveraging and exploiting all their skills, creating opportunities for everybody to learn and try. But how do you create organizational improv that leverages the best out of all your people? Now, this organizational improv requires a transformation of the org chart. First off, you don't think org boxes. You think swirls. You don't want to put a person in a box and say, this is your box, this is what you're going to do. No, you want to put people to swirl so they can learn and grow more. So first off is the org chart and I think in knowledge-based industries are dead. And we're going to see this ability to leverage organizational improv to create teams. But here's the other gotcha. This is a scary one. It means that the smartest people in the company aren't the senior executives. They don't know what's going on day to day. How do they know, right? It's the people at the front line who are, I was in a Starbucks, and there was one of these Starbucks that had a huge, drive-through and a bunch of people coming in. There were 7 people working this thing, and it was almost like ballet. Watching this team moving forward. Someone else was making drinks. All of a sudden, they had to move over here and do inventory. They just moved and flowed. And there wasn't like one person who was giving orders, right? They all knew what to do. They all had a common language. They all had common objectives around which to do that. So to me, I think digital transformation, AI and machine learning and all that good stuff is great. But if you can't empower people and drive towards organizational improv, your transformation will be a disappointment.
Yeah, and I think so much of that comes down to a company's culture. So I guess, how does a culture of empowerment yield a culture of innovation?
It always boils down to culture. And empowering people. Now, what do we mean by empowerment? Empowerment means we're willing to let people make decisions, fail, learn, and try again. The only way that we can learn is through failure. And so to embrace a culture that I don't want to say encourage, but allows learning through failure is really critical. But there's also something else that has to happen here too. Innovation can't happen without curiosity. Now, when we were born as kids, right, we were all curious, right? I took apart my dad's radio. When I put it back together, there was like 3 or 4 extra parts. It's like, oops, right? We have this curiosity. It's natural in us as humans. We always want to understand how do things work, right? And so we have that curiosity until we get into grade school. And then we immediately have, classrooms and books and standardized testing all the way through our training and education through middle school, high school, college, standardized testing, we wipe out all that creativity. Standardization is more important than creativity. And that probably made sense in the 50s and 60s when, we didn't have anything and, just getting a washer or dryer was like, great news, right? But we need to bring back curiosity. And here's the reason why. AI and ML is going to make the mundane tasks even more mundane. Humans to survive are going to have to become more humans. We're not going to replace AI and ML. We're not going to replace it in the same way I can't replace my square root button on my $5 calculator. It does square roots better than me, and it always will, right? So how do we as humans future-proof ourselves? Well, curiosity, creativity, innovation. I truly believe that in smart organizations and in smart schools and colleges, that we're going to find that AI and ML are going to have to make humans more human. And that's going to mean going back to being curious, right? Creativity and innovating around an area that allows us to try, fail, learn, and keep trying again.
Well, it's great to hear that we still have a future and not everything's going straight to AI. But it's been so great talking to you, Bill. Some really great insights there. And I just want to say thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks. It was a fun, really quick spot. I love it.
That's how we've been doing it this whole time. And I just want to say thank you so much. This is my last time hosting. Then we're going over to Trang, who will give an outlook for oil of 2021. So thank you so much for having me. If you've enjoyed this episode, you can download a report, The Value of Data in the Age of Uncertainty, by scanning the code or going to the link on the screen now. As always, thanks for joining and stay tuned.